Hare Krishna. Jayo Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jayo Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari. Jayo Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari. Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana. Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana. Yamunatira Vanachari. Yamunatira Vanachari. Jayo Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jayo Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari. Yashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana. Yamunatira Vanachari. Jayo Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jayo Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jayo Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajaka Charja Ashtotara Shata Srimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai Anantakoti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Taigora Premanande Haribo. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Hare Krishna. So today we're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 25, verse 51. Today is also the auspicious appearance day of Sri Gadadhar Pandit. Sri Gadadhar Pandit Ki Jai. So on the end we'll read some short chapter on Gadadhar Pandit. And now text 51. Devahurnama Puryadva Uttarena Puranjanaha Rashtram Uttara Panchalam Yati Shruta Dharanvitaha Devahurnama Puryadva Uttarena Puranjanaha Rashtram Uttara Panchalam Yati Shruta Dharanvitaha. Okay, maybe somebody can repeat. Devahurnama Puryadva Uttarena Puranjanaha Rashtram Uttara Panchalam Yati Shruta Dharanvitaha. Devahurnama Puryadva Uttarena Puranjanaha Rashtram Uttara Panchalam Yati Shruta Dharanvitaha. Okay. Devahurnama Puryadva Uttarena Puranjanaha Rashtram Uttara Panchalam Yati Shruta Dharanvitaha. Word by word translation. Devahu, of the name Devahu. Nama, as it was called. Puryaha, of the city. Dvaha, gate. Uttarena, on the northern side. Puranjanaha, King Puranjana. Rashtram, country. Uttara, northern. Panchalam, of the name Panchala. Yati, used to go. Shruta Dhara Anvitaha, with his friend Shruta Dhara. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, Founder Acharya of the International Institution for Krishna Consciousness. Translation. On the northern side was the gate named Devahu. Through that gate, King Puranjana used to go with his friend Shrutadhara to the place known as Uttara Panchala. Purport. The two ears are situated on the northern side and the southern side. The ear on the southern side is very strong and is always anxious to hear about sense enjoyment. The ear on the northern side, however, is used for taking initiation from the spiritual master and for gaining promotion to the spiritual sky. The right ear, or the ear on the southern side, is called Pitruhu, which indicates that it is used for attaining the higher planetary systems, known as Pitriloka. But the left ear, which is known as Devahu, is utilized for hearing about even higher planetary systems, such as Maharloka, Tapoloka, and Brahmaloka, or yet even higher planets situated in the spiritual universe, where one becomes more inclined to be permanently situated. This is explained in Bhagavad Gita 9.25. Yanti deva vrata devan pitrim yanti pitri vrataha bhutani yanti bhuteja yanti mad yajinopi mam. Those who worship the demigods will take birth amongst the demigods. Those who worship ghosts and spirits will take birth amongst such beings. Those who worship ancestors go to the ancestors, and those who worship me will live with me. Krishna says, one who is interested in being happy on this planet, as well as after death, generally wants to be elevated to the Pitrilokas. Such a person can use the right ear for hearing Vedic instructions. However, one who is interested in going to Tapoloka, Brahmaloka, the Vaikuntha planets, or Krishna Loka, may take initiation from the spiritual master in order to be elevated to such lokas. Om Ajnanati Mirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namo Vishnupada Krishna Prashtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Tinamine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Kadadara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. One more time the verse, the translation. On the northern side was the gate named Devahu. Through that gate, King Puranjana used to go with his friend Shrutadhara to the place known as Uttara Panchala. Yes, Hare Krishna. Welcome to the morning lecture of Srimad Bhagavatam. In this purport, Srila Prabhupada is explaining, and the verse is actually saying about the hearing, about the ears, which their main purpose is to hear things. And in the Vedic literature, we give a lot of stress actually to each organ. We explain each organ, what does it do, how it came, what is it connected to, like this. And the ears are especially important. Many times Srila Prabhupada gives the analogy how the ear is important, and how through the ear we actually even see through the ear. And maybe somebody who is unfamiliar with our scriptures, it will be strange for him to see that, to understand that. But we heard many times that seeing through the ear, in the sense that not only pratyaksha are senses, but seeing through the knowledge which comes through the ear. And that is how one of the aspects of Vedic philosophy that I like. It really gives a detailed description of many aspects of our life, which are very important, and which we use every day, but we don't consider them. Generally, people don't consider that they stop and think, what am I hearing? How will this influence me? Where it will bring me next? If you ask somebody like that, he would not even know how to. If you approach a person in the street and you ask him, do you think about what you hear during the day and what is affecting you? And rarely anybody would even, they would think it's a strange question, mostly. But we know it's such an important aspect of our life, and we neglect it if somebody doesn't draw attention from wherever our attention is to that particular thing. And hearing is such a large part of our life, and so influencing. It's very influencing, even when we sleep. And Prabhupada gives an analogy that only the sense of hearing can save us, because all other senses are a little bit like dull. Eyes cannot see anything, and but if somebody says, if an animal attacks us while we are sleeping, and somebody says, "Wake up," then through the ear we hear, and we are saved. This is one of the million analogies that Prabhupada gives about the importance of the ear. But here I wanted to repeat Prabhupada's words, where he's speaking how one ear is made for enjoyment, the other ear is meant for actual enjoyment. One ear is made for temporary enjoyment, and the other ear is made for eternal enjoyment, or at the beginning at least longer enjoyment. And he's saying how one ear is for people who want to enjoy in this material world and enjoy after that. So this means karma kanda, and to do proper things to actually enjoy. And the other ear is to actually elevate our consciousness to even higher planets, up to Vaikuntha, as Srila Prabhupada says. So there is no scope for nonsense. There is no ear for nonsense. There is one ear for Vedic rules, and the other ear for transcendental elevation. Actually, both go in that direction. This is just a longer route. So this is the point, that we should understand how that process is going on. How are we say many times that sentence, we purify our senses, and maybe our materialistic approach can be somewhat practical, like if you say purify this thing, you clean it. But we purify our ears by exposing them to Vedic knowledge. And what happens in the beginning, person who doesn't understand, he hears something, and it's in a particular mode of nature, like it's something passionate, like some music. And I know my parents at home, there is never silence at home. All the TV is working, or the radio is working, mainly these two things. There is no moment of silence from the morning. But so this means at least, let's say, 14, 15 hours in the weekends, you are hearing radio sounds and music. And it's usually mostly in Rajogun. And Rajogun connects you and implements desires, materialistic desires in you. And then you have to fulfill the desires. And then you become angry or frustrated or happy even. So many things. But never do you think that exposing yourself to some sound is producing that. So in one sense, you are not in control of your life. Everybody wants to be in control of their life. If you ask a person on the street, do you want your life to be guided by some external forces, or do you want to be in control of your life? Everybody will say, no, I am in charge of my life. I am the commander of my body. There was one movie in Croatia. It was called "The Commander of My Body." That was the movie's name. But he was not the commander of the body. But everybody aspires to do that. But nobody wants to do the nitty-gritty, do the work to actually become that. Nobody even heard that he could practice something like that. So we heard, we are fortunate. We heard that exposing ourselves to different modes of nature. In this sense, the sound, which is in different modes of nature, can actually inspire us to do things in tamoguna, to be sad, to be depressed, to be sick, can inspire us to go and earn money and to buy a car and buy a big house and go to many vacations. We are inspired by the sound that we hear, by the people we speak to and then hear that sound, or by the radio we hear, or by the TV that we hear, or by the books that we read. This is all sound that is coming and is influencing our life. So we can decide, either be influenced by random sounds which come by our karma, or we can actually control and be more attentive on what we hear. What we hear. Because we know that when we hear certain things, then it goes into our consciousness and it becomes knowledge. And if we live by that, it becomes realization. And it's not only about spiritual knowledge. For example, if you hear that there is a discount in a trip to the sea, and you have to take it because, you know, just 2 seats left, and you buy it and you go to the sea, so you have knowledge about that, you act upon that knowledge, and you go to the sea and you're actually happy there. So you have realization. It is true. It can be like that. It is Maya still, but for you it's a realization. So what do you do on that trip? You plan the next one. This is you plan the next one, or at least at the way back you say, oh, how it was good, where will we go next? So this is how it happens. So the same with spiritual knowledge. We should hear it first, then we accept it, at least theoretically, and try to live by it, try to remember it while living, because it's practical. And then when we get realization, then it is inside of us, then we know it's true. And such a person which has realized some portions, at least, of spiritual life, like even this thing, that you should be careful about what you hear and where is it taking you. If you realize that on your own, then when you hear something, even if it's nonsense, you are protected, because you understand, okay, this is not true, I will not do that. You are protected. At least at the beginning we should do that. We should arm ourselves with this knowledge and be protected. And then carefully we avoid things which are good for our devotional life, and we accept things which are not good for our devotional life. And this is the first 2 steps of Sharanagati. But how can you do that if you are not at least a little bit accepting of spiritual knowledge and try to live by it, so you realize it? So it doesn't be only, it's not only a theoretical acceptance of knowledge, but it's something that you carry with you. You cannot, nobody has to tell you after you eat that you are satisfied. You just know it. It's just complete realization. That's how Vedic knowledge can become for a person who is actually serious. It can be just a, there's no doubt about it. There's no doubt about it. If you accept it theoretically and try to see it. Srila Prabhupada, through his books, he's just showing us, not inventing anything. He's just showing us. And we can see it if we do that method, that we read Prabhupada's books each and every day and try to implement it in our life. And we will see how our life is going towards spiritual progress. And so it's an utmost importance, because you can actually lose your whole life by not being careful how you approach spirituality. And in the beginning it's like that. You try to fight the Maya. You absorb yourself with so much information, try to live it, but there are also your own realizations from before, your materialistic realizations. And then when the tough times come, your shelters come up. For example, when I was living in India, I had all the material facilities. All the material and spiritual. Material was everything okay, but I wanted to say spiritual facilities. I was living close to all the sannyasis from ISKCON in the same building, and only seeing Pankajakari Prabhu and Jana Nivas every day, and associating only with devotees. And I was sometimes having crisis, in the sense like sometimes I would say, oh, here there's not so much service, I'm bored, or something like that. Maya was speaking because there is so much service. But something would come up on my mind. And then my mind would always go to a position where it would say, anyway, I'm not so poor, I have some savings. If I have to go, I have some savings. So it's okay. Endure a little bit more. You are not lost. You have some money on the side. So this is how my mind worked. It had an impression that money will save me, will protect me, is a shelter, ashraya. I took ashraya in the money, and it pacified me. It pacified me, and that was my reason that I can stay longer. But it's not a good reason. It's a wrong reason. It will not give you the proper drive and the proper understanding. That's why little by little, while fighting Maya, we get an understanding that actually this is the ashraya. The Prabhupada's teaching are the shelter. Because they will protect us from anything and everything that may happen to this body, or around this body, or in any other sense. And we take shelter of your lotus feet. That we said 20 minutes ago. Guru Mukhya Padma Vakya Chitete Koriyaikya. The Guru Mukhya, what the Guru speaks from his lotus mouth, that I make one with my consciousness. Chitta is not only heart, it's just like your core. You make one with your core, you just live by that. And that's the next level. First you are just protecting yourself by the knowledge from bad sounds, but then after some time you always see Prabhupada's teachings. Even in bad sounds you see Prabhupada's teachings, because you see why he warned us about that. Like I always remember some rock songs, because I was dressed like I was raised like that. So there is a famous rock song, and then before I was just dance to it, but then after Prabhupada's teachings, even these rock songs, which you have to get exposed to them. You are in the material life. We went yesterday to the sea, the lake, and there was rock songs on both sides. One in saxophone and one side in electric guitar. So you have to get exposed. And there are some songs who come like 10,000 times in your life. And this, what I'm speaking about, is also this empty spaces, what are we living for? It's a Queen song. And I was always, but what he speaks, he said, show must go on, show must go on. Inside my heart is breaking, my makeup may be flaking, but my smile still stays on. And then it says, empty spaces, what are we living for? Does anybody know what we are living for? So it's, it's like Prabhupada speaking. Everybody just going around and round. And there is not, Prabhupada is translating all the sufferings for men, because even men understand. We are just going round and round. And we are just putting a smile. And my makeup may be flaking. You can see on my face that everything is dissolving, but my smile still stays on, And then you can understand that people just put on a smile. They put on a smile. It's not actual, true, fulfilling, long-lasting happiness. It's just a smile. Everybody can do like that, even people who have mental problems, sometimes they're just going with a smile. It's true. It's sad, but true. It's not a sign of happiness. A smile is not the only sign of happiness. But if you have no knowledge, you see all these people. Wow, especially here in Zurich. Wow, everything new, running. They have no time for you, because they are in Zurich. What do they need me? I'm dressed in this. They are already there. What can I give them? If you don't have Prabhupada's teaching, you can get bewildered. You can get awed, in awe and reverence. You can become in awe and reverence on them, because they are nicely standing, erect body, and speaking very confidently, and they can tell you, this is nonsense. You should go and work. What are you doing for your life? You know, if you don't have Prabhupada's teachings deeply in your heart, it can get through to you. It can bother you. Sometimes you sit down in your room and think, he's right, you know, he's right. It can happen. It happens many times. So it's very important that daily we get absorbed in the repeated shower of Srila Prabhupada's words. And then we can go anywhere and everywhere. We don't go anywhere. We go for spiritual service, for devotional service. But sometimes we go in a place which is not completely conducive because we have to. Or we speak to a person who is very much, his ego, his identification with his nonsense is very strong. And if we are not identified with our proper thing, that we are a spirit soul, that we are a servant of Krishna, and that we are completely protected by him, not by the potential money or potential, I don't know, safe country or but by Krishna all the time, regardless. If we don't have this ego, the true ego, very strong, then a person with strong ego can break us, can influence us. His words penetrate our thin our thin protection, and we can get bewildered. This is the word Prabhupada uses, bewildered. It means just, wow, such a great personality. Not all people are so bad, you know. He's good. Actually, no person is bad. It's just his behavior can be a little bit bad. So it's a great asset that we have. And then after some time, like I said, first you fight, then you hear everywhere and anywhere Prabhupada's words, in the sense that even if a war comes, you can see Prabhupada is always speaking, that cats and dogs will always fight. So even that war is just a normal thing, and you expected it, because Prabhupada says it's a material world, that war will be there. So that reminds me of Prabhupada. And then when you further absorb in that knowledge, then it starts reminding you of Krishna. Everything starts reminding you of Krishna. I remember one sannyasi was speaking, even a pillar can remind you of Krishna. And not just Nrsimhadev, everybody will say Nrsimhadev. But the pillar has also other qualities. It's strong. And who is also strong? Krishna in fighting with the coward boys. You know, just your consciousness goes immediately there. Or it's very nice, it's very beautiful. But from where that beauty comes? From Krishna. And Krishna is most beautiful in Vrindavan with his associates. So that is where the consciousness goes, and you are there, slowly and gradually. So it's not about, as somebody might presume from my words, that you only fight, you know, escape from bad things. No, you avoid what you can. The other ones you can be defended by understanding. And and then next comes that you get so absorbed in this knowledge that you are positively engaged. Your senses are no longer exposed. You're no longer searching with the senses, but they are completely absorbed in Krishna consciousness, and they're not protected wherever you go. Everything reminds you of Krishna, of Prabhupada, of devotees. Nonsense reminds you of that people are doing nonsense. And good things, like beautiful things, a painting or everything, reminds you of beauty of Krishna. Not about Van Gogh and his talent, but the beauty of Krishna, which is channeled through that person for because of his karma. You're completely absorbed. So our process is not about negating. It's about absorbing each sense, the sense of hearing, and Srila Prabhupada says many times, the sense of smell in smelling the flowers in the temple, the sense of seeing in seeing the beautiful deity, the sense of, but somebody might say, okay, but I'm not all the time in the temple, I'm sometimes outside. Yes, because of that, after first you be in the temple a little bit, then you come outside. Because then outside also will remind you. And Suhotra Maharaj is speaking a lot about that, how everything is actually manifestation of Krishna. these drapes. These drapes, you know, they're just cloth. If they are on a pile in the floor, unclean, they exhibit some qualities. They also come from Krishna, these qualities. But when you put it in a nice way and you arrange it properly, then they exhibit beauty. Then they make a room beautiful. And this is Krishna manifesting through these drapes. The drapes don't have any quality on their own. They are just manifesting Krishna's qualities of beauty, of elegance. These are Krishna's qualities. They are not qualities of the drapes. This is what is a transcendental vision. We think this car is beautiful. No, Krishna is beautiful. This car is just manifesting one small portion of Krishna's beauty. And then we are protected. Of course, the highest is that we just see everywhere the opportunity to serve Krishna. That is the ultimate protection. But I'm just saying, Suhotra Maharaj is quite emphasizing this in his books, which are amazing insight into this topic. So Krishna consciousness is such a nicely explained way of life that we can really be absorbed in its practice, and then it will guide us very nicely. And you know, there is always in Krishna consciousness this argument: should we follow rules or should we just be absorbed in the pastimes? But that's a non-argument. It's the whole. It's a whole. You know, you can see Prabhupada's teachings. They guide you how to not go away from Krishna, and by that you are coming to Krishna automatically. And that's why you have so many guidances, but also so many instances of pastimes in the book, and they are intertwined. If you read Krishna book, you will see, and any book. So both things are there. We are not following rules and regulations to be an army and to show that we are the most equipped army in the world, and because we have more rules than the other army. No, it's all about elevating our consciousness and developing love for Krishna, and it's going simultaneously. Because if your senses are not purified, you can hear all the pastimes you want from Krishna, but you will associate them with your impressions of what is a pastime between a man and a woman, between friends, between parents. You know, you will see Mother Yashoda and you think about your mother. It's not the same. It's not the same. But how can you explain that? You cannot explain. You, by practicing, you come to that. By practicing spiritual life in a proper way, in proper association, then it comes to that, into that understanding. It becomes revealed. That's revelation. Even the Christians, they say revelation. By revelation. By protecting ourselves on the one side, and by absorbing our senses in Srila Prabhupada's books, in the service, in proper association with devotees. So it's not at all negative. Even this so-called negative, like people might say, why do you clean why are you washing yourself all the time? It's impractical, you know, especially it's impractical. You go shower and this shower and that shower. So many showers. You can say it's impractical. You do it and try to read books of Srila Prabhupada. You do it, and then we'll speak. I cannot tell you how many times or what. What can I say? You just do. You try to live this life, and try to take shower, and try to live this life. You will understand. It's just so plain to see. Because after some time, if you don't take shower, because you cannot know what it means cleanliness unless you're clean. So after some time of being clean, when some problem comes and you cannot clean yourself, you really feel it. You really feel the difference. So it's really practical. The proof is in the pudding. This is the British. So. Shri Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Maharani ki jai, Gaur Nitai ki jai. Okay, and I will just read. The lecture is until 8:30. Yes, I wanted to read. Yes. I wanted to read, and then we can discuss some more. I wanted to read because it's the appearance day of Sri Gadadhar Pandit, so I wanted to just read a little bit of Sri Gadadhar Pandit. Panchatattvamakam Krishnam Bhakta Rupa Svarupakam Bhakta Avataram Bhaktiakyam Namami Bhakta Shaktikam. The Sri Gadadhar was the constant companion of Mahaprabhu from the time of their childhood. His father's name was Sri Madhva Mishra, and his mother's name Sri Ratnavati Devi. They lived very near the house of Sri Jagannath Mishra in Mayapur. Ratnavati Devi thought of Sachi Devi as her own sister and always used to visit her. During their childhood, Sri Gaura Hari and Gadadhar would play together, sometimes at Mahaprabhu's house and sometimes at Gadadhar's house. They both studied together at the same school. Gadadhar was a few years younger than Nimai. Nimai couldn't remain without Gadadhar, even for a moment, and Gadadhar likewise couldn't stand to be separated from Nimai. In the Gaur Gunadesha Dipika, it is described that that person who in Vraja was the daughter of Sri Vrishabhanu Raja, namely Srimati Radharani, is now celebrated as Sri Gadadhar Pandit. Sri Swarup Damodar has written in his diary, Lord Gaurasundar, who is beyond the purview of the scriptures, beyond the entire Brahman and above even the Vedas, can never be known by the atheist whose intelligence is dull. Lord Nityananda is his eternal self. Lord Caitanya is Lord Govinda himself. And Pandit Gadadhar is none other than Sri Radha, the divine couple, who are present in Sri Chaitanya as a well of rasa. Advaita Acharya Sadashiva has prayed for his descent. Within he is blackish but of a golden hue without, the manifestation of the divine couple. Thus Vasudev Ghosh sings of the beauty of this divine couple. Sri Gaura Gadadhar, in whose worship he has been completely subjugated, he prays that he will desire to serve them birth after birth. Okay, this goes on and on, but I wanted to say, to mention and to glorify Sri Gadadhar Pandit because it's the appearance day of Sri Gadadhar Pandit, and it's actually connected to what we speak. Everything is connected. It's a full, rounded, complete philosophy. That material intelligence is dull. It needs to be sharpened by spiritual knowledge, by service, so it can be revealed. Otherwise, how can we understand Chaitanya Charitamrita? If some person, materialistic person, would read, he might just see some friends dancing and singing together, and in the outside we can see that is also a component of that. But if we force our way into the pastimes, cannot happen. It will not happen. That's why we hear. That's why we hear about them. We hear from persons who saw them, who are actually seeing them in truth. And by service and an attitude of devotion, then it is gradually revealed. And anybody who read Prabhupada's books like more and more times, you can see by 1 year, 2 years, more years of engaging devotional service, it gets revealed, it gets deepened, the understanding. Prabhupada gives the analogy of a child who sees a car for the first time. He might think all sorts of things about that car. He first of all doesn't know even if it's a car, but let's say like that it's a moving object. But who is moving it? Why? Where is it going? There's so many informations he could not even fathom. And he has two options. Either he will improvise, and that is the route often traveled, or you will ask somebody and learn, and then you see And then when it grows up, when he's a mechanic, he knows which car is that. He knows that somebody is driving it. It doesn't go on its own. And he knows actually if it has some problems. Just by the sound of the car. He can know, okay, the exhaust is broken. He just knows it. Nobody has to tell him. He has a complete realization. And it's a material analogy, maybe an imperfect one like any, but it's the same. It's the same. We cannot force ourselves, but we become invited by accepting through the ear, as Prabhupada says, through the left ear. But we can be safe and put it in both ears, just for safety. And gradually, it comes by revelation. And anybody who practices spiritual life has had that experience, but maybe didn't divert his attention to that. But it is like cleanliness. First of all, I don't want to take a shower or something like that. But then when you take regular showers and you keep your room clean, you can actually see how it affects your consciousness in a positive way. There's no doubt. And this is a realization, a small realization. But if I talk to you for hours and hours, if you are in a person who just came and speak about the glories of bathing, it's very difficult to give you that experience. But when you have the experience, and it's the same as that, if we learn from Sri Upadeshamrita how to deal with devotees, and then we try to deal with the devotees in that way, again we will see if we are merciful to devotees, if we have friends with certain devotees, if we serve certain devotees, then we'll see. Then we'll be realized, and then we'll understand. And the same is in Upadeshamrita. Ta Shri Krishna nama di na bhavet grayam indriya. Sevan mukhe hi jiva dao, svam eva spuratya da. Grayam indriya. Your senses, materialistic senses, cannot approach. But sevan mukhe hi jiva dao. If you serve Krishna with your tongue, with your ears, with your eyes, the senses get purified, and you can see. And then the argument gets solved. Should we follow rules or should we follow the residents of Vrindavan? It's both. It's both, because the resident of Vrindavan told us what rules to follow. It's both. It's a non-argument. We shouldn't discuss it in that sense. We should just learn how to apply it more and more. And in that way, we please the resident of Vrindavan by serving Krishna in a way he is serving Krishna. And this is the definition of Raga Nuga. We are following a person who is, but we just don't know, no, I don't want this Raga Nuga, I want some other Raga. But actually this is, what do you want more? He's a self-realized person who came and show you how he is doing, you do, and we are doing that. It's perfection of life. And it's in his books. It's well elaborated. So it's such a blissful and chalked out way. This is also an expression, British chalked out way, which Prabhupada uses. This means that somebody is not just telling you, but there's a line like around Govardhan. There's that line. If you don't know how to go in a circle, then there's a line for you. You can watch and go. So it's chalked out, and it's so nice. The greatest gift, and very practical. You can see it. Pratyaksha vargamam dharmyam. You can see it in your heart that it's going on. Something is changing, and so nicely elaborated. Even when I remember when I was learning physics, you have a bad teacher. He's just writing these formulas, just writing, nothing, explaining nothing. And then one of my friends, he just stood up and started clapping like a madman, and started saying to him, "Bravo, bravo! You are so good!" Because we were frustrated because he's just writing these formulas down. Nobody understands anything. So he was kicked out of the classroom, of course. But he wanted to make a point. Turn around, tell a subject to us. So even physics can be complicated, which is like not such a great asset. But this is such a great asset, but very nicely delineating and made very simple. Not always easy, but simple. So that's the mercy. of Srila Prabhupada. And when we appreciate that, then it gets much more easier to absorb ourselves in this knowledge. So I will end here. If there are some questions or comments or anything that people want to say. Okay. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Jai Gaura Premanande. Hari Hari Bo.
Вопрос у нас.
Okay. Yes, Prabhu? Slobodni вопрос. Slobodno вопросите.
Да, получается, что понимаешь, да? Несложно. Получается, что материальный мир создал Господь, Кришна.
Yes. Tell me. I said that material peace, Krishna, I couldn't follow it. Sorry. Very hard. It's some esoteric Russian, some deep secret.
He's English,
Aha, okay, please.
Получается, материальный мир создан Господь Кришна, это его план.
Material world made Krishna, and everything here is his plan.
Okay.
Для того, чтобы души, которые хотят жить отдельно от него, могли спокойно наслаждаться материальным миром.
It was made for the souls who desire something and can explore this everything.
Okay, they can.
Да,
Okay.
И получается, это план Господа, и он действует постоянно.
And everything is plan of God, and it exists constantly, going constantly. Everything.
Under his.
Yeah.
Да, и получается, что это у него уже отлажено. Из миллиардами лет вот эти мир материальный проявляется, и все там у него уже есть план.
It works by perfect way. Works perfectly everything.
Could you ask Prabhu, is it a question or a comment? Because I'm listening with different consciousness then.
Вы вопрос задаете или комментарий?
Ага, okay.
Комментарий.
Okay, then.
Комментарий.
Okay.
Потом уже вопросом выяснится. Да, и получается, что сам Господь Чайтанья приходит и хочет поменять правила, Господа Кришны, свои правила поменять.
And the fact is that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu coming and breaking the
rules.
Breaking the rules.
Да, получается, Господь хочет поменять свои правила, которые уже в мире материи, они уже налажены.
He desired to break his rules, which are going here.
И эти все люди, они прогрессируют согласно, у каждого есть свое тело, и свои мозги они прогрессируют постепенно, но в плане Господа Кришны.
Everybody in this world progressing according their position, material body and plan of Krishna.
Да, и получается, что можно изменить ихние мозги только воспеванием святых имен. Им философия не подойдет пока, только воспеванием имен святых.
And their consciousness could be changed only by chanting holy names, but they cannot accept any philosophy.
И если мы поем Харинамы, люди меняются.
When we go to Harinam, people change.
Yeah, people's mind changes.
По-другому оно не идет.
Harinam Sakirtan ki jai.
No other way.
No other way. Nastyeva, nastyeva, nastyeva gatir anyataha.
Да, просто мы бывает их обсуждаем, да, этих людей. Они надо только харимама.
The reason that Guru Nisha said everything, that sometimes we criticizing them, all people, you know, who not who like karmi maybe, but we're not going to Harinam and not helping them.
So we should do Harinam, Harinam.
Да, и потом они очистятся.
And after we will go, they will be purified.
Постепенно.
Yes.
Подвоспевание.
Gradually, by our chanting.
Yeah. So we should chant.
И будут здесь у нас.
And they will come here, everybody.
Okay.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Grantara Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaura Premanande, Gaura Nishta Prabhu ki jai. I'm a practical guy. I'm a shallow guy. Not so tidy, but practical. Not so tidy. Practical. I make a mess, but I do something. We are imperfect. We are imperfect. We are imperfect. What is the plan today? Because it's another service.
It depends on the weather. But we know in the afternoon we should clear up.
So you are planning for afternoon or like after lunch? So I can plan in the morning.
Yes. I think we will discuss with Damodar at breakfast.
Yeah, he didn't say anything in the morning, so.
Okay. What would be better for you?
Both things, just to know a little bit, so other things too.
Yes, so important. I have some service in the evening, so I have to wash something for